HIV Hour is the UK's only show for people living with HIV, sharing stories, news, and views on living positively with the virus.
Welcome back to the HIV Hour and our very special guest. He shot to fame in the BBC dating show I Kissed a Boy and has since continued to support the HIV community as an ally and an activist. Joining us today is the gorgeous Dan Harry. Hello, how are you?
Hello, Vabe. Lovely to chat to you and see you again. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm good. I'm getting ready for the red run. I am, yeah, getting up to my usual tricks. What about you?
The same. So yeah, we're both taking part in the Red Run this year. So you came to support last year and now you're lacing up your trainers to join in. How are you feeling? How's the training been going?
I'm actually like, I remember when I went to support you guys last year. I was so embarrassed because I was like, why am I not running? All of my friends are running, everyone I know is running, and I'm just here on the sidelines, like, oh no, like I don't want to run 5K. So this year I had to run, like I couldn't not run. So I'm actually really excited for it this year. I think it's just fun. It's just like everyone just gets into it. It's like it's Vicky Park, it's near where I live. It's yeah, I don't know. I'm really up for it this year.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, the World AIDS Day Red Run is every year at Victoria Park on a Saturday before World AIDS Day, where over 30 charities come together to raise money for HIV causes. So you're doing it this year for the Terrence Higgins Trust, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, as you know, that's kind of how I met you. Phil is like since doing I Kissed the Boy, I um I feel like I've been able to get really close with all of the team at Terrence Higgins Trust, and I just think everyone is just so brilliant there. The work that Terrence Higgins Trust does and all the like the whole community there is just so brilliant. So obviously I'd want to support THT. And the last time that I did something fundraising with THT was the big shave off. Do you remember that? Were you there for that? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you were, of course. Yeah, that's when in fact, maybe that was when I met you. Um, the big shave off where I literally had my chest shaved on stage at the Royal Vauxhall Tavern. And yeah, actually I feel like I'm less scared for this run than I was for that shave off.
Yeah, so the big shave off, we all thought you copped out, to be honest, because you were going to come with Ollie and we were trying to get you to shave your mustaches, but you were having none of it. Your trademarks.
There's like, look, there's like many things that I'm prepared to shave, but my mustache is not one of them. The thing is, if I was to shave a mustache, I would literally become a twink in 20 seconds, and then it would be over for me. And it's like, no, do you know what? Like, let me just get my chest out and hopefully people like that.
And it was an incredible evening. Like I say, both of you came down, but that's not the first time we met. The first time we met was at the Pride March, where
Yeah, of course.
you and all the boys from I Kissed a Boy came down to support us carrying the banner. I think you and Ollie were, weren't you?
That's right. Yeah, actually, I forgot about that. That was such a fun experience. That was crazy. Yeah, me and Ollie carrying the banner at the front. Although, do you remember like the pole kept like breaking because it was like windy or something? We were like trying to carry it. Like, it was just becoming like so stressful. Because also we were trying to say hello to everyone along the parade. Meanwhile, this banner's like getting lower and lower and lower by the minute. That was like that. Do you know what? That was probably one of the first times after filming the show that we were like, okay, this is actually quite bonkers, like people are wanting to say hello and like there was just like a lot of love and yeah, that was a really weird experience. But the reason why I didn't actually remember that is because like I think maybe said hello there. But I remember
Yeah.
you did your speech at the Big Shave Off. Remember that?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was
you were
so
so it
great.
was nerve-wracking to obviously get on a stage and tell your story. But like I say, it was just such a privilege to, as it always is, to work with charities like the Terrence Higgins Trust and to tell our story. What is it about the HIV community and the Terrence Higgins Trust in particular that attracted you as an ally? Like, why did you want to help and support?
Yeah, like this is like a sort of a funny one because sometimes I actually do get nervous with the HIV community because sometimes I'm a bit conscious that I'm like almost taking up space within that community as someone who's not living with HIV, and like I don't want to do that. I don't want to take space or a voice away from someone else who's like probably more valid to speak on that than me, but I think like my whole thing is like I grew up in like a little town just outside of Glasgow with very little understanding of sexual health and HIV. And like on my like journey as a young teen trying to figure out my sexuality, HIV was something that I was just a very big like sort of black hole in my like knowledge and understanding. And like that led to me being really sort of something I was quite scared of because I didn't really know what it meant. I just knew that I was gay and I knew that gay people got HIV, and I was worried about what that meant for me because I was like a young teenager who'd never met another gay person before. And when you're at school and those kind of places, no one talks about sexual health from any other perspective other than the straight perspective. So it led to a lot of fear of the unknown, really. I think from there, like whenever I then eventually became more like more ingrained within the gay community, and I met other people living with HIV, and my knowledge was sort of broadened, it just really changed my perspective a lot. I also like have I then met people who were living with HIV, and I heard about the stigma that they faced. My knowledge and understanding and perspective of HIV has really just evolved, and for that reason, it's something that I really want to. Um, be involved in and support the community. And I've always been interested in sexual health and always just been interested in like the science of it. I got the opportunity to be part of the of a vaccine trial, which I think we'll maybe talk about later, around HIV. And from there, it made me even more interested because by doing that, I got to meet loads of amazing doctors and nurses who've been working within HIV for like decades and have really like seen this thing evolve so much. So yeah, that's sort of what really piqued my interest. And then I guess in the last couple of years, because I've met so many incredible people, one of them being you, within this community, it's made me even more inspired to be a part of it, you know?
Absolutely. And just have people reached out to you? Do you get messages from people kind of confiding in you or just welcoming you? Like you say, do you now feel welcomed and part of our community as an ally and an activist?
Well, actually, like I get messages all the time like that. Like I get messages of people telling me that they've just been diagnosed or that they've just become undetectable or like people who are really like confiding in me at all aspects of their journey. It's pretty amazing to be honest that people like consider me someone that they'd want to share that with. And whenever I do get those kind of messages, I'll always send a really considered message back because I know that that must be something scary that they like for them to do. So I'll always give them like my real thoughts and my real like feelings back, you know, to support them. I get messages like that like really regularly. And like I think like I said, I never want to be seen to be like trying to take up space within that community. But if I can be like a supportive ally, then 1,000,000% like that is how I'm going to use my energy.
And also within all this, because it's incredible what you do and the fact that you are a kind of poster boy for us and to help us and use your kind of spotlight to kind of shine on our community. But I guess I can imagine maybe is there a kind of worry that people might extend the stigma to you and believe that you're HIV? Do you encounter that where people might have mistaken you for being HIV positive and shun you in the same way that they might shun somebody who is HIV positive? Have you experienced anything like that?
100% I have, yeah. Like people all the time just assume that I'm HIV positive. Like honestly, like that is like a very regular occurrence that I get. Because people are like, well, he must be because why else would they be speaking on this topic? Or they look at my Instagram and they see the sort of things that I'm posting or talking about. Um, they see me talking about THT. Yeah, all the time people just assume that I am like that I'm living with HIV. And like my thing with that is like I kind of don't really care. Like I'm a bit like, well, if that's what people think, then it genuinely doesn't bother me in any way, shape, or form. The thing is, I acknowledge that people living with HIV face stigma, and I think that's a total injustice in the first place. So I'm kind of like, do you know what? Like if you want to assume that, then go for it because like that's on you if you're someone who has a prejudice against someone living with HIV. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And like I say, it just kind of reinforces our belief and our understanding that there is nothing to be ashamed of. And it is something that anybody can get and anybody can live with. So I think the fact that you are part of our community because you do face the same stigma and the same struggles that we as people living with HIV do get, and you're brave enough to stand up to that.
I also just want to like I try to and the thing is like I want to also say that I'm by no means a doctor and I'm by no means an expert on sexual health or HIV, right? I'm just someone who is trying to understand this like as much as I can, right? To better myself. And when it comes to something like HIV, like what we have now is like that these incredible ways for people to live completely and utterly normal, happy lives, even if they're living with HIV. So I even try to like speak on like even if I did have HIV, like it would be something that I would just take a pill for, take a couple of pills for every day and get on with my life. Like it's not even like I try to remove the not to take away obviously the history and like what it means to people, right? Because obviously it means a lot to people. But I think like removing the gravity away from it and actually just calling it what it is and saying, well, if you're like it's like going on to HIV medication is not completely indifferent to like me taking my prep every day, right? So it's like it's not like this life-changing, world-ending thing like what it used to be, right? Is that right in saying that, Phil? Because that's like how I've always sort of seen it.
Yeah, absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's sort of what my take on it is. So I try to yeah, I mean people can think what they want. I actually really don't care.
We'll talk more in the next part of this interview next time. But for now, good luck with the is it 5 or 10K you're doing?
10K, Phil, I thought I'd like just get it done.
Well done.
Oh
I
yeah,
did 10K last time and I got a personal best, so no
oh
pressure.
did you?
I'm doing 5K this time with our gorgeous friend Ellie, only because we're doing it in costumes.
Yes,
So
I've heard about the costumes by the way, and I'm very excited to see
it has to be seen to be believed. But for
it.
anybody who wants to donate to you, how can they find you? How can they get in touch?
So go if you want if you'd like to donate, first of all, thank you very much. You can go to my Instagram and there's a Just Giving page link on there and all money raised obviously goes to Terrence Higgins Trust. So please do support and also please come along and say hello.
Perfect. And your Instagram is
It's Dan Harry PR.
amazing. Thank you
Thank
very much.
thank you, Phil.
Welcome back to the HIV Hour, and a huge welcome back to activist and ally Dan Harry. Now, the last time we spoke, you were lacing up your trainers for the Red Run. Now, this wasn't the first time you've raised money for the Terrence Higgins Trust, and we spoke about this before, where you raised money for the Big Shave Off. But as well as your activism and charity work, you've actually taken part in the vaccine trial. So I'm really interested to hear more about this and how you got involved and exactly what was involved.
Hey Phil, nice to see you again. So the vaccine trial was, it sort of became this much bigger thing than what I actually initially realized. So the reason why I got involved is because I have a friend who was involved in the PrEP trials. So they'd been going to a doctor and basically been taking part in this research trial for PrEP to become available en masse. So he then told me about this other trial, which was they were taking applications for, which was for a HIV vaccine. And I was like immediately extremely interested in being involved in that because it's just something that I've always felt really passionately about for all the reasons that I'm sure people are aware of now. I basically applied to take part, and I actually applied to take part like a good 6 months before I even did like I Kissed the Boy or anything. Like this was something that I initially got involved in a long, long time ago. But it takes months for these things to happen. So probably about 8 months later, by this point, I Kissed the Boy was now out and on TV. I then got a message to say that they were now taking applications and for me to come in and do a a test to see if I was eligible to take part in the research trial. So I came in and was basically brought onto this research trial. There was only 5 people on the research trial. And from that point onwards, for a year, I was in and out of the St. Stephen's Centre in Chelsea and Westminster Hospital, doing appointments, tests, giving so much blood, like a lot of blood, being given this trial vaccine, which never had been tested on human beings before until now, essentially becoming like a guinea pig in a trial for a HIV vaccine. And over the course of a year, I had like so many appointments and was given 3 doses in each arm of this HIV vaccine, essentially to test if it was something that would work and would be able to be given out en masse. Since then, I've now completed the vaccine trial, so that's now finished. But in terms of whether or not it's worked, we don't know yet because it takes another year after for them to continue doing tests because every time I'd go to an appointment, they would take a lot of my blood, which by the way, absolutely hated it, freaked me out so much. And now there's like someone in a lab somewhere with like gallons of my blood, like doing all of these various tests. And essentially what they were doing is they'll have my blood before I was given a vaccine, my blood after I was given one vaccine, my blood after I was given 2 vaccines, and my blood after I was given 3, and they'll be testing each version of my blood to see how it's evolved. Essentially what the vaccine was doing was creating like an genetically engineered replica of the HIV virus in my blood to essentially mimic the notion that I am actually already living with HIV. So it essentially creates a positive status, but obviously you're not actually positive. You're just, it's just your body thinks it is, which protects you from then becoming actually positive. So a way that like my life's changed since doing the vaccine is there's now only one hospital, which annoyingly is on the other side of London, which is where I go to get an actual HIV test. Because if I was to go to any other hospitals, the reading of my results may not potentially be accurate because they would not necessarily know all the context of the trial that I've done.
That is incredible. Like, and it blows my mind. Like, I mean, obviously, as someone living with HIV, it blows my mind anyway that we even have PrEP and effective medication to make you undetectable. Like, how the science behind it is unbelievable. But yeah, so just to kind of examine that a bit closer, you're not actually given the HIV vaccine. It's never put into your body. It's a
No, yeah.
replica of it.
No, and actually, like, I'm so glad you asked me that question because that is like probably the most common question that I get with
Yeah.
this. Probably the biggest misconception about me taking part in this trial. At no point have I ever been given the HIV virus. There's no HIV virus in my body, and that's not how this vaccine works. It's a genetically engineered replica, so it's made to look and act like HIV in your body, and to essentially protect you from the actual real HIV. And again, like I get like that's just something that interestingly I've just like people always like I actually get such funny questions with this. There's a lot of misconceptions around it. So yeah, that's the case. It's not that. The reason why like I feel so passionately about it is because all of the team who work on that vaccine trial have all been working in the HIV field literally for like 30, 40 years. And actually, the place where I was taking part in the trial is actually where Freddie Mercury went for his treatment. So there was even not nurses and doctors who worked with Freddie who I met, and that was like so cool as well. And I actually became super close with all the nurses and doctors. Like I still like text them all the time, and like I pop in to see them because it just became like a little like I would just go in, have a chat with them. They would like give me lots of snacks to get me through the blood. Yeah, it was great. Like I actually really enjoyed it. I kind of miss that I don't have those appointments anymore. But yeah, the science of it is really incredible. Like people also ask me like, were you not scared to take part in a trial like that? And like weirdly not, like I never was scared. I think I always have just having I've always just had trust and faith in the science and in the doctors who are like doing this. Because people are like, oh well, how do you feel about the fact that you're gonna have like a positive status whenever you do a test? And I'm kind of like, again, like if that's one of the side effects, then I think like it is what it is. I'd still rather be a part of this, like what could be potentially extremely groundbreaking thing.
And yeah, just to kind of clarify what your measures are to actually protect yourself from actually contracting HIV. Does this vaccine actually, is it protecting you at the moment, or are you still having to take PrEP to
Yeah.
protect yourself?
Yeah, the thing with the vaccine is like it's at such an early test stage that like it by no means is it should it be used as a form of like prevention from HIV. So that I've always continued taking PrEP and I've always been encouraged to continue taking PrEP. In fact, it became even more important than ever for me to be taking PrEP because it would have been a real problem for the trial if I somehow became HIV positive during the trial because it would totally mess up the trial, right? It just wouldn't work. So actually they would give me a great supply of PrEP. I never had to worry about that. And I still now I continue to take PrEP all the time, every day.
This leads us on nicely to the documentary you made for
Yeah.
BBC iPlayer, which was then broadcast on BBC as well, wasn't it? So it's HIV, PrEP, and Me. Tell us a
Yeah,
little bit more about this.
yeah. So basically, like, yeah. So after doing all the HIV vaccine stuff, I sort of, like you say, like became like a poster boy within the community, and was very lucky to be given the opportunity to sort of like be the face of this BBC Three, BBC iPlayer documentary called HIV, PrEP, and Me, which was essentially all about HIV prevention and PrEP, which I'm sure anyone who's listening to this will know exactly what PrEP is, but there's so many people out there in the world who have no idea what PrEP is and have like never heard of it. And I think that was like something I really learned from doing the doc. And actually, like, I mean, Phil, you knew whenever I was like making it and putting it together because you gave me such great advice on people to speak to and everything. And I think like it all came together in such a beautiful way. But essentially, the documentary featured lots of really amazing figures within the community, whether they're living with HIV, experts in the field, like someone from Terrence Higgins, Dr. Kate from Terrence Higgins Trust, who sort of spoke about the politics of it, an amazing doctor from the Mortimer Market Clinic who spoke about like the science behind PrEP and how it works, the amazing Ellie, who I'm absolutely in love with, who is this incredible woman who speaks on HIV, is living with HIV, and has got a really compelling story to tell. Lots of amazing people, essentially. I got to speak to them, travel around the UK, learn so much about HIV and so much about PrEP. I'm very proud of that documentary. I would hope that people learn something from it.
Exactly. And I think from my work with the Terrence Higgins Trust as well, does it surprise you how many people don't know about PrEP and PEP? Every time I meet somebody who doesn't know about it and I educate and inform them, it catches me off guard, like the lack of knowledge.
Yeah, it's weird because that like people like if I'm even just talking to someone about like the documentary I've done, like there's always that extra level of explanation that's required because I'll say what the documentary's called and what it's about, and I'll see the look in their face and I'll be like, you have not got a clue what I'm talking about, don't you know? And it definitely has massively surprised me, and I think like people like Ellie are a great example of the importance of why everyone should be understanding and aware of HIV and PrEP because it really is something that can affect absolutely anyone. I do think the documentary sort of did that job because it told stories and it busted some myths around HIV that HIV is like something that only affects gay men because we know that that's not the case. And yeah, I don't know, I think it sort of broadens the world of it and it sort of changes some misconceptions.
And we spoke about this a little bit last time about the kind of recognition you get from your activism. And in particular with this documentary, did you have a lot of people reach out to you afterwards? And was it all positive or did you get some aggressive
Yeah.
feedback?
You know what? Like, I actually feel like quite lucky and blessed because most of the time, like, I would say 95% of the time, like, I only get really positive, beautiful messages. The only times I ever get negative things are whenever, like, it's another, say, like, a news outlet has covered it, like, then there'll be, like, hateful comments. But to be completely honest, I never read anything that's bad. I only look at the good stuff. So, maybe that's like my own ego. I'm like, nah, I don't need to see the hateful stuff. I've actually had so many messages from people saying like lots, like honestly, so many people saying that they have started taking PrEP because they watched the documentary. Actually, Russell Tovey, who like I've been obsessed with for forever, He actually like we went for a drink one time and he literally was like, "Oh yeah, I watched your documentary and I started taking prep because of it." And I just thought that was so cool. I was like, "I've watched you for years and you're telling me that you've watched my documentary and it's inspired you to start taking prep." So
Wow.
like that was really cool as well. And then it's not until like you hear stuff like that, or even like Russell T Davies like reached out and said like he loved it, and like really people who I've always admired telling me that they have watched it and it's sort of like given them a new perspective or inspired them to start taking prep. Like that's a very cool thing to be a part of, you know.
It is a beautiful, beautiful documentary. And you've obviously mentioned like how much you enjoyed meeting these people and making it. Are there any plans to make any more documentaries, or what is next for you?
There is a topic which I really, 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 really want to make a documentary about. It's in an area that I've been like getting like sort of broadening my understanding of in the last couple of months. I'd love to do a documentary about chemsex. I think it's a really sort of complex topic, and I think like it's really misunderstood in a lot of ways and under researched. And there's some really incredible people who I've been able to meet in the last couple of months who are also doing like really amazing work in that field. I don't know. I think there's a lot to say there. So I'd love to cover that in some way. Although these things are so hard, honestly. Like whenever it's something to do with sexual health or sex and gay men, it's just hard because there's still a lot of stigma attached to that, and it's a taboo topic. And chemsex in itself is taboo, like anyway, for lots of reasons. But if I could do another documentary, it would be on that. So maybe I'll be able to make that happen. Maybe.
Yeah, because didn't you recently sit on a panel about chemsex?
Yeah, I met with a bunch of I basically met with Controlling Chemsex, who are this amazing organization who are doing like so much work within this field, which I just didn't even know was happening. Like, for example, like every weekend, like they have like support workers on Grindr, literally with a Controlling Chemsex profile, like being there for people to reach out to them in their time of need to offer support. And like this is something that like people are doing, and actually they don't even really like Grindr will shut down the accounts. Like it's something that they're battling, they almost can't even get the support of the platforms. So I think there's so much work to do in raising awareness for organizations like Controlling Chemsex because they're really amazing grassroots work that they're doing. And also there's a lot of stigma that needs to be broken around chemsex as well, because even like not that my message would ever be that we should stop chemsex or chemsex is good or bad, but it's about controlling it and it's about people staying within control and not letting it take over their lives. It's quite a complex topic, but I think it's definitely one I'd like to touch on next.
It absolutely is. It's something that obviously I've talked openly about my past experience with. I interviewed the wonderful Nathaniel J. Hall, who was lucky enough to make a documentary about chemsex for Channel 4. And only scraped the surface. Like say, it's so in depth. There's so expansive, like so much to talk about and cover, and it's changing like the face of HIV. It is something that is evolving, and unfortunately in the wrong way. I feel I remember when I was first exposed to chemsex and involved in it was in my 30s, and I'm now going out as a public speaker for the Terrence Higgins Trust to schools and sixth forms, speaking to 16-year-olds who are accessing chemsex because the route into it tends to be through apps like Grindr,
Yeah.
and they meet up with other gay men because it was the same for me, because you just didn't feel part of this community. You wanted to meet other gay men. This is a dark path that you can lead you in the wrong direction. So it's very prominent, and it's worryingly so that the younger generation who are susceptible are now encountering it. So I definitely think there's work to be done in that whole field, and exploration to it and awareness. So yeah, definitely fight for that.
Yeah, not 100%. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully we can do something around it. I've got a lot of ideas. So yeah.
And just before we let you go, I can't not ask about I Kissed a Boy and the reaction to that show, because it was groundbreaking. It was kind of the first of its kind to feature an all queer, all gay cast of boys on a primetime BBC entertainment show. How did it feel to be part of that? And how's it been since?
Oh my God, it's absolutely wild. Like I filmed that like over 2 years ago now, right? It's like such a weird memory in my head, but it's had such a lasting legacy in my life. Like it really changed my life, honestly, it really did. And like, I never wanted to be on TV. I never like went out with that goal. But whenever this opportunity landed in my lap, it just felt like something I just had to take. And I'm just so glad that I did. I don't know. And I've started to speak to some of the boys who are in season 2, and I'm just like so excited for them to go on the same roller coaster that I did. Yeah, it was an amazing experience. I would do it all over again.
Find a new boy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been a pleasure talking to you as always.
You too, Phil. Lots of love, as always.